What is going on, everybody? Welcome here to the Purple and Gold podcast. Today, the Minnesota Vikings improved to 11-2 on the season for the first time since the Brett Favre-led Minnesota Vikings in 2009. That is absolutely absurd. We are here with Dylan today, and the reason why Dylan is here is because he is an Atlanta Falcons fan. So we're going to get things from both perspectives here. I'm going to do this when I have a friend that is from the opposing team. So, first and foremost here, this was through and through the best game for the Minnesota Vikings all year long. Okay, they've highlighted it from the time that Kevin O'Connell has gotten here in 2022. This team continues to put Minnesota Vikings fans through just these nerve-wracking games, and you just are at the edge of your seat every single time. But that did not happen today. They won comfortably, and when you want to talk about a perfect offensive performance, we got it today. Sam Darnold, he looks like he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And I don't think that it is a hyperbole to say that. This was an out-of-body performance here from Sam Darnold and all the guys. So, Dylan, what are your thoughts? If you want to talk about this from a Falcons perspective first, we can start off with that, and then we'll go into some Viking stuff. But, thoughts on the game?
No, that's okay. We can start off on the Vikings since it is a Vikings channel. Yeah, I thought Sam Darnold played exceptionally well today. I thought the deep ball he threw the deep ball really well.
Oh my goodness, yes.
In the game, Jordan Addison absolutely went off today. He proved that he could definitely be a one in this league if he wasn't behind the best receiver in the league, Justin Jefferson. Also, Speaking of Justin Jefferson, he also went off. Started off the game a bit slow, but eventually picked it up. And yeah, going back to Sam Darnold, five passing touchdowns, really could have been six if Addison was able to extend the ball over. Just a perfect game. And then once again, the Falcons secondary getting exposed. I thought the run defense for the Falcons was pretty good today. I thought that we were able to contain Aaron Jones a bit, but it didn't really matter because, like you stated, just exceptionally well between Darnold and the receivers.
Yeah, and you know what? We had this conversation before, and I'm happy that Addison played the way that he did. But I've always felt like Addison could be a wide receiver one, even prior to being on our team. I think he was just so good at Pitt, so good at USC. And then for that stretch where Jefferson was out last year and he had to be the wide receiver one, he absolutely dominated. He had 10 touchdowns by the end of last season. And we've seen it here today, that even in those moments where you had a safety over the top, Jordan Addison was winning one-on-one in man coverage. And so that's the thing, when you allocate so much of your defense to Justin Jefferson, which we saw on countless occasions today where Jesse Bates was just no, I'm going to make sure that Justin Jefferson gets covered today. You can rely on Addison to win those one-on-one things. And you can't blame Jesse Bates for doing that, but it is a real luxury here for Sam Darnold and this entire team to have two wide receiver ones on the team. Defensively, for the Vikings, I'm still concerned, honestly. And I don't remember if I voiced my concern last week. I know I talked about how the defense continuously was bending but not breaking, and it felt like Arizona was consistently in our territory last week. But this week, we just couldn't stop the run. We know that Atlanta is a good rushing team. They have two really good running backs. I think Algier is pretty underrated. He has been for the entirety of his career. A lot of us were scratching our head why you guys even drafted Bijan when Algier was playing the way he did prior to him being drafted. But, the Falcons proved that they can move the ball at least on the ground, and Kirk Cousins really just needs to pick up the slack. But, yeah, this Vikings defense, again, we're literally one injury away, and we're talking about Stephon Gilmore today, from being a really vulnerable defense. Shaq Griffin is not a capable cornerback one. We saw that today. And it's a little concerning because we talked about how Brian Flores could have potentially been a head coaching candidate last year during that stretch when the Vikings defense was just playing out of its mind. And then near the end of the season, where we're kind of at now again, it seems like things are just kind of loosening up. The defense doesn't feel as tight as it was before, and that's a little concerning. Again, we still have a handful of weeks to get that corrected. But, for a team like Atlanta, and again, we got our fair share of interceptions in this game, which we should have, the way that Kirk Cousins has been playing. You would have liked to seen them just eliminate that run game, which we've been so good at this year, and really, put possibly have Atlanta put up a dud if they can't move the ball that way. But again, maybe I'm disrespecting Atlanta's run game a little too much and respecting our run defense too much. But it just felt like this was a very one-dimensional Atlanta Falcons offense coming into this game, and we could have done a lot more to make this game an even wider margin than it ended up being.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to the offense real quick. I think with Addison kind of, I wouldn't say exploding onto the scene, but like proving again that, he's him. It's really just, picking your poison when it comes to the Vikings offense.
Yeah.
If Sam Darnold continues to play like how he's been playing, we've seen early on in the season that Sam Darnold kind of had his struggles, but I mean, he's really picked it up, these past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And if he keeps playing like this, I mean, you guys could seriously be a threat in the playoffs. But yeah, going back to the defense, you talk about Shaq Griffin. He probably should have had a pick today. That was an interesting call.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you guys' run defense was okay today, and I didn't know that it was that good. I knew that your guys' overall defense was really good. I didn't know your run defense was really that good. But I think Greg Olsen brought up a stat saying that I think through the third quarter, we had the most rushing yards than you guys through the whole season already. Mm-hmm. That's a bit concerning. And I think when I look at your defense, it's definitely a bend but not break. There was multiple times that we got into the red zone, especially inside the 5-yard line, and you guys were able to stop us. And that was pretty much the key to the game.
Yeah.
And right now it's fine when you're versing, offenses like Atlanta who can drive down the field but, struggle to capitalize. But, when you get into the playoffs and you verse teams like the Eagles, that's not going to happen. Once you get to the 3-yard line, they're going to have plays like the tush push where they're going to score on you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would like to see the Vikings, pick up the defense a little more. I mean, they played good today. It was a great team win. I'm not trying to harp on the Vikings defense, but I think, there were signs where you go, ooh, we'd like to pick that up, especially when it comes to playoff time. But I mean, overall, I don't remember his name. I think you texted me during the game, but you had
Jalen Redmond.
3 balls today that were
I mean,
players like that can step up,
As Vikings fans, we need to start recognizing Jalen Redmond, and they also need to get him a real jersey number. 61 is not a real jersey number. I mean, this guy is absolutely blowing the run game up, just strictly from the middle, and I mean, like Dylan mentioned, he had, I think, 3 batted balls at the line of scrimmage today. And this is a guy that, was on, the roster bubble because it was undrafted free agent, coming from the UFL. Is he really going to make this team when they bring in guys like Jerry Tillery who are trying to make the roster as well? And, man, he has shown up. So he has been one of those bright spots for the Vikings. And, I mean, if this ends up working out too, and he ends up being a high caliber player, this is going to be another one of those undrafted free agents that end up being a big time gem for this team. I mean, fingers crossed, of course, that's how you want things to go. But yeah, he's definitely someone that needs to be getting more attention because he's playing out of his mind. But like you said, the offensive line for the Atlanta Falcons today, I mean, aside from all the holding calls, which, I mean, they need to get that cleaned up. But they seem to control the line of scrimmage, right? Because aside from Jalen Redmond, I wasn't seeing a ton of penetration from guys like Harrison Phillips, Jonathan Buller, Jerry Tillery. And then, I mean, even in terms of the pressures, Van Ginkel wasn't getting home, Grenard didn't get home. We need to see a little more of that. And I think Dylan is spot on when he says that because this is an opportunistic defense. Anytime that the ball comes their way, they're going to come down with it. I mean, we saw it with Byron Murphy today. That was absolutely huge. But again, there's going to be teams in the playoffs that are less susceptible to turnovers like that. And if you're just relying on turnovers to swing the momentum or to get a stop, that is not the most sustainable type of defense to be playing. But nonetheless, when the ball is up in the air, we come down and get it. You can't ask for much more than that, right? I mean, we're in the right spots at the right time. Again, I'm not trying to discredit this team, but in a way, I am just trying to critique it because we know the realities of it. There's a reason why the Eagles and the Lions are considered tier 1 teams in the NFC and why we're in the tier below. I mean, we can see it. I'm having a ton of fun this season. We'll lighten up the mood. We'll lighten up the mood. I'm having a lot of fun this season. We are 11-2 when a lot of us thought that we were going to be the worst team in the NFC North and potentially picking in the top 10. This team is absolutely fantastic. But again, we want to talk about the truths. We want to talk about the realities. There's a reason why people aren't taking us serious. And if we can continue to stat games like this, I think people's minds will change. But until then, again, this is a great start to build off of, is what I'm saying. So.
Yeah, I agree, man. I definitely think you guys do have the talent. I think.
Absolutely.
Guys, you know how I feel about KOC, but yeah, I mean, I'll say this: when you're scoring 42 points a game, like you don't really need to talk about the defense because usually that's enough.
That's that's true.
But I'm not trying to discredit the Vikings. They played an exceptional game. I'm a Falcons fan. Our defense sucks. Our defense is just not good.
Well,
and when you
that's surprising considering how you guys were playing at the beginning of the year, right?
Yeah,
and even more so now. Not only was your defense good, but now your defensive line is starting to like come to the games as well. I mean, the last 2 weeks they've been playing really good. Yeah, like last week. Now we know. Now here's the thing. And I think this is a strength possibly of your team that you guys might be finding out. But the Chargers' interior offensive line, our interior offensive line, not very good units, right? And you guys do have some pretty big guys up front. I think Caden Ellis today, he had a breakout game. I mean, I'm not sure if he's been playing like that the whole year.
It's not definitely not a breakout game.
Yeah.
Like this all year.
But yeah, he's... No, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's not a name that you hear at all, So I knew he was playing good, but I didn't realize it was to that level.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, we'll give him credit for that. But yeah, I mean...
And even Ebiketie.
Oh yeah, Ebiketie as well. Yeah, that was really surprising.
O'Neal's really solid. Yeah,
he's really good.
Yeah, he really got the bend on that, and
I don't know the last time Brian O'Neal gave up a sack.
I haven't seen a Falcons edge rusher do that in a minute. So
right, no, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, for one, it being
ask that.
Ebiketie, yeah, I mean, just.
Yeah, has the Vikings line been like kind of okay like recently or like?
Yeah, okay, I will say this: Cam Robinson has been really good. I mean, it's not easy to fill in for a guy like Christian Darrisaw. And so we know that the tackles are great. But again, it's that interior offensive line like Blake Brendel. I mean, does he know what he's doing out there? I mean, how many times today did the Falcons say, "Hey, we're going to just put a little bit of movement in front of you. Let's twist some guys." And he doesn't know who he has to pick up. I mean,
there was twice when Ellis got free, and then it was Ellis on Jones.
Yeah,
Jones,
it's just,
like, all right, like that's just you can't play Aaron Jones in that situation and expect him to hold.
Right? No, exactly, and this is the thing. It partially is a scheming thing, but at the same time, and this was highlighted throughout the broadcast, Blake Brendel is blocking nobody on those plays.
Yeah,
block somebody. This isn't a scheme thing. This is just you not doing your job, and. I mean, literally. I mean, pressure like that, it can make or break a game. I don't want to keep talking about last week's game, but Arizona's game last week, that's what kept them in the game. That interior pressure when they were sending extra and guys couldn't pick it up, they've got to get that corrected. So again, I think that's the best part about this is that even though the Vikings pretty much played a perfect game, there's still a lot of ways that this team can improve. And that's the scary thing. Scary for other teams. For us, that's amazing. But, I mean, again, if we can just get all of these little details together, I mean, it's crazy because it's almost backwards in a sense. I guess if I had to make an analogy of this team to a player, this randomly came to my mind, it's Anthony Richardson. We're making all of the difficult things look really easy, and some of these really easy things look difficult. I mean, how many plays do we have today that went 30 plus yards? That is not an easy task. And yet here we are. We can't pick up a 4-man rush because our left guard doesn't know who he has to pick up. Like, if we can just get these little bumps and bruises out, again, this team can start winning games by a respectable amount in the coming weeks, and people will take us more seriously. And again, we have an opportunity to show that for these next 5 weeks, and we have the last game against Detroit. There are opportunities for this. So we have to show up big time, and most importantly in the playoffs, which is going to be a big discussion because, again, as good as Kevin O'Connell has been, and granted, his quarterback situation hasn't been great. I mean, you look at how Kirk Cousins is playing now, and to think about what he was doing with Kirk Cousins when he was in Minnesota, it's pretty incredible. And then what we're seeing out of Sam Darnold now, he has to win a playoff game and make a run because it's coming to a point where both him and Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah are coming up on a contract year. Do you feel comfortable extending a guy who hasn't won a playoff game yet? I love Kevin O'Connell, but again, I mean, we've talked about this in the past on the channel. I've talked about this with Dylan off camera. There's got to be a championship urgency here. We cannot get complacent with being a good top-end team that can't finish, because that pretty much summarizes the history of the Vikings for the last 60 years of their existence. So the one question, though, that I wanted to bring up was Sam Darnold. Like, there are people now who think that there should be a serious discussion for him to come back. Now, I think you have to take every week for the rest of the season to make a real consideration at bringing him back, because the way that this plan is structured here for Minnesota is that they're gonna ride on that rookie contract with JJ McCarthy and not spend a boatload of money on a quarterback, because the way that the team is built, it's obviously not going to happen to the draft with the lack of capital. And even if we did have the capital, Kwesi typically don't draft good after the first round. And free agency has proven to be huge for us. Guys like Grenard, Van Ginkel, Cashman, Jones, huge additions this year, right? If we can identify talent that way, sure, if that's what ends up getting us a Super Bowl. But what would you say from a non-Vikings perspective? For me, I think we ride with McCarthy, right? I think Sam Darnold is playing great, and maybe my opinion changes if you fucking sorry, I didn't mean to swear, but puts together performances like this.
Yeah.
I mean, near perfect, top of the line performances, then yeah, okay, now we're having a real talk. But I think we have to stick to the plan and trust the process that, we've put in place.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think what it really comes down to is if Darnold can prove in a playoff game that, he can be the starting quarterback for the Vikings, because, it might seem bad, like, oh, you drafted J.J. McCarthy, you have to play him next year is the whole plan. We didn't expect Darnold to be this good. But, I mean, if Darnold is playing really well, like, why would you take him out? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, like, this could be, like, I know it's very different situations. Rodgers was nearing the end of his career, but why can't this be like a Rodgers love situation where, like, you just save J.J. for a bit, you know what I'm saying? Because one of the bigger things about J.J. McCarthy going into the draft was, is he NFL ready? Is he pro ready? You know what I'm saying? And if he can sit behind Darnold, who's been in the league for a while, been through a bunch of teams, been through a bunch of systems, why not have him sit for a couple more years, Because it obviously worked out with Love. And like I'm saying, they're completely different situations. Aaron Rodgers is a different quarterback. He was nearing the end of his career. He's obviously a lot better quarterback than Sam Darnold. But, I mean, also with the injury with J.J. McCarthy, I haven't heard any more news on it, but I heard the surgery didn't go, like, fully as planned,
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, even sitting him for a little more with that injury would be a little bit better, could be a little bit better. But, I mean, like I said, if Sam Darnold goes out there and you're at the first playoff game and he stinks it up, like, yeah, I think, you move on from him. He's a great quarterback in the regular season, but he's not going to win you that big game. You know what I'm saying? This is what you drafted J.J. McCarthy at 11 for, So, but, I mean, if he goes out there, plays really well in a playoff game, wins a playoff game, wins 2 playoff games, you're like, it's kind of hard to sit there and be like, yeah, no, like, we're just going to let you go and walk. Because, I know you guys drafted J.J. McCarthy in hope of that, but, like, Sam Darnold has proven this season that if he can win a playoff game, he can win he's a winner. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
It's really interesting. You guys are in a really tough situation. Like I said, you guys probably didn't think that Sam Darnold was going to play this well. You guys were even going to be in this position, but, you guys are, and it's going to be a tough decision for sure, for what it looks like right now, so.
Yeah, and Kevin O'Connell does a really great job of just doing a lot of coach speak. Like, he says all the right things, and he really pumps up his players. Like, that's kind of one of the things that the culture is built off of. And I know that he says that he believed in Sam Darnold, but I mean, come on, let's be real now. I mean, I think you're right. I don't think. Yeah, no, there's a reason why we drafted JJ McCarthy. So I do think, and I guess if I want to make another analogy to something random, what Sam Darnold needs to do is he needs to have an SMU Clemson performance. Like, We last night we were talking about like, damn, SMU might not even make the playoff now because of how poorly they're playing against Clemson.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that Sam Darnold is having a terrible first half of the season. What I'm saying is that he needs to really finish this thing strong. And I think if we win a Super Bowl, oh yeah, you bring Sam Darnold back. There's no hesitation about that.
100%.
But
I think even if you guys make the Super Bowl, you got to bring him back.
well, yeah, I mean, see, that's the thing. Like, if we do have an SMU situation where we come close, but we don't finish it, but he's not the reason why we lost. Like, if like let's say we score 42 and we lose like 42 to 45, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't know. I think this, for those of you wondering, because a report did come out that long-term contract talks were not happening between Sam Darnold and the Vikings at this moment. That report came out early this morning, but I know some people are already thinking about that, which we really shouldn't be, but that's something that I wanted to address. No, right. Even more so, right? That conversation seems to spark up. But, for me, as it stands right now, again, I think we're on the same track. Like, we got to say, like, oh my God, like, either this team was literally this close to winning the entire thing, or we do win the whole thing to say Sam Darnold comes back. Because the truth is, if Sam Darnold does get a contract from the Vikings, with the way that he's playing now and the way that he would have to be playing to inevitably bring him back, he's going to get paid $50 to $60 million.
Wow.
That's the truth. When you have a quarterback playing at this high of a level, that's the money he's going to get paid. That's how much Brock Purdy's going to get paid.
Yeah, I'm thinking like, I don't know, like you don't think you go like in the 40 million range?
Well, see, that's what you would want to do. Would Sam Darnold take that though? Look.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Me personally, if I'm Sam Darnold and like the Vikings offer me like 45 million a year, I would 100% would take it, because you've proven that without KOC, like you're just not a good quarterback. Like, yeah, maybe the talent's there, but production wise, you're not there. Like, he's statistically having his best season by far with KOC.
No, okay, that's like, yeah, no.
And obviously, it comes down to like what he cares about more. He cares about the money, and a team offers him like 55 million a year, 50 million a year. Yeah, I mean, he might take that, but I mean, if you want to win and get paid a lot of money, like.
No, that's a great point. I mean, again, we don't know where he stands on that. I'm just like, okay, let's say he gets offered 40 mil from the Vikings, okay? And money talks now, man, okay? Whether they say it's a priority or not. Let's say a team like the Giants, because Brian Daboll was a really good offensive coordinator in Buffalo, and he just hasn't had a capable quarterback. What if the Giants offer him 60 million? He gets an extra 20 million. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, I think and I think this.
Well, that would never happen. But.
Well, it's similar to like the Vikings Kirk Cousins situation too, where I think the Vikings did want to bring Kirk back, but the years and the dollar sign wasn't lining up to where Kirk wanted it to be.
I think it's different. I think it's like you look at like Kirk Cousins, where like he's coming off an ACL injury, he's getting old, he wants years, he wants a lot of money.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't line up.
You're always there with him, but you're never there.
Yeah.
I think with Darnold it's different. Like you guys are on pace to have the best season with Darnold, better than any that you've had with Kirk Cousins. Darnold's a lot younger. I don't think he would ask for more money than Kirk was, because he's only had a season.
Yeah, Kirk's a greedy guy, man.
Yeah, Kirk is a greedy guy. Shout out to his agent. He gets paid a lot, but I just don't think this is going to be a giant situation where Sam Darnold plays really good for 1 year, kind of like what Daniel Jones did, and you go, oh, and then you throw him like that bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think you guys are smarter than that. I hope your front office is smarter than that. So, I mean, it's interesting, I think if you and Sam Darnold are, if everything goes to plan, you guys at least win a playoff game. If you guys throw $40 million to Sam Darnold, I would look at that and be like, I don't think that's that bad. Obviously, people like you, maybe some other Vikings fans love J.J. McCarthy. Want to give the young kid a shot, but it's interesting because you look at it too. Like, you pay Sam Darnold that much money, can you bring back like great players that I don't know, just Cashman and they get those 1 year deals or
yeah, I mean no. So I mean guys that we still need to bring back, like Byron Murphy's going to be a big one this offseason. I mean, he's got 6 interceptions this year, right? Like, I mean, He's doing
Is
a great
Addison
job.
coming up to this?
Addison not yet. He's gonna be in like 2 or 3
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
But Cam Bynum still needs to get a contract. Like these are guys are like that are going to be free agents like this offseason. You know, like Cam Bynum needs to come back. He's really good. And I mean even Byron Murphy. Like I think a lot of people say like, "Oh, Byron Murphy gets a lot of things thrown to him." Yes, it's absolutely true. But, you know, I can recall games like Indianapolis. He's running the route for Josh Downs. He's running the route for Gabe Davis in Jacksonville. I think today, okay, say what you want, because I think people will be like, oh my God, they threw that, Kirk Cousins threw that right to Byron Murphy. I think what happened on that play was that was not Byron Murphy's guy. I don't think that was his guy. I think he realized that Kirk thought Bynum was Pitts' guy. Bynum crashes, and then, what is it called? Sorry, Bynum crashes, and then Byron sees the flat, and is like, I'm going to abandon that because I think what you call Pitts is going to go over the top, and that's exactly what happened. I thought that was a great play. I don't know if that's what happened.
It was definitely a great play. It definitely should have been a touchdown, but it was a great play.
Yeah, no, yeah, it was.
It all started from the pressure. You know, Kirk saw the pressure,
Yeah.
threw it up. I think if he puts it right on Pitts, it's a touchdown. But, I mean, still, what a play by Byron Murphy. I mean, he reached out with one hand. You know, like, obviously, I don't think it was needed. I mean, I definitely, like, secured it.
Yeah.
Secured the win, but, I mean, still, yeah, what a play. Like you said, I didn't even know he had 600. That's a lot. That's what great corners get in a season. You know, it's around 6, you know. So,
yeah.
If Curry Joseph and Xavier McKinney weren't playing exceptionally well this year, you know, he'd be right there. So,
yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and that's interesting. And, you know, just one more thought on this. You know, if you really do believe in J.J. McCarthy and you think he can do what Sam Darnold is doing, like, even, like, what he's doing, like, yeah, you're right. It probably shouldn't be a decision because it's $40 million. Well, actually, I don't know what J.J. McCarthy's contract is, but it's a lot of money cheaper. So,
yeah, I think you know, and this is the thing too, right? Because I mean, I'm a huge J.J. McCarthy believer, which is why I think you know, as much fun as we're having with Sam Darnold right now and how good he's been playing, I do trust J.J. McCarthy to go out there and produce, right? And the thing is too is that with Sam Darnold, although we're not seeing it now, we saw it through moments in this season where he could have single-handedly lost us the game because he didn't understand when to be aggressive, when to pull back. That's never been an issue in J.J. McCarthy's career. J.J. McCarthy was always great at protecting the football without eliminating the big play from the offense, right? Like he always pushed the ball downfield and did a great job. Like I've talked about this before. That Bowling Green game was terrible. You don't throw 3 interceptions against a MAC team. But then when you go out and only throw 1 interception for the rest of the year, like that's a guy who is studying, who's learning, who's getting better. That's what I like about J.J. McCarthy. So, I mean, again, I think you have to just trust your scouting and say, hey, we took this guy for a reason. We didn't just take this guy to be a temporary patch-up for our quarterback situation. Like, this is supposed to be your franchise quarterback. And if you really believe that, I think you got to stick with your guns and let him play. So, that's that conversation. But for the time being now, for the 11-2 Minnesota Vikings, this is a fantastic game. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the best game this season. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to rub it in. But it really was the most well-rounded game this year. And it's giving me more hope that this team can be like a serious team and somebody that hopefully jumps into that tier 1 conversation and plays up to that level throughout the playoffs, because I think we can both acknowledge here, this team, they can do it. But again, does the logo, does the name on the front of your jersey have something to say about that? I don't know. I mean, history has said so. So until then, I'm not going to get too excited about it, but it's something that we can at least enjoy for the time being.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you guys definitely really good today. And, you know, like I said, if Sam Darnold continues to play as well as he did, you don't even have to worry about the defense that much because, you know Brian Flores is going to do what he does. So
yeah. Yep. So, you know, until then, guys, unless we have some Vikings news in the middle of the week, I will see you guys next week. I don't even know who we play, honestly. You know that saying where it's like 1 week at a time? Yeah, like we're not looking ahead. We're focusing on whoever it is this week, and we can think about next week.
I think you guys have the Bears.
If it,
I think it's because you guys have to play the Bears, the Packers, and the Lions again, right?
Yeah, and Seattle. So
I
it's
want to say
you know,
the Bears.
if it is the Bears though,
they had like the graphic coming up. So
Yeah, if it's the Bears, I have the white jersey and oh, my white helmet is downstairs, so we'll be showing that off throughout the week too if that's the case. But until then, Minnesota Vikings are 11-2. We are sticking in the race for first place, not only in the NFC North, but as it stands right now, for the entire NFC, which would be absolutely huge. We're going to keep hope alive. We're going to stay optimistic, but not too much to where we're going to get our hearts broken again. And until then, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you, Dylan, for joining today's video. And until then, see you guys later. Peace.